It's been quite some time since I have seen Chain and Soldier with this episode based on episode 6 based on Chain and Soldier. I kind of want to first one. I want to explain some things before I go ahead and once again this review. If you guys don't know, back in my other chain of reviews and stuff, I got my Chain and Soldier reviews back with those. I left off with basically episode 5. Basically, during the time, basically with that, I was basically with my grandma during the time. My grandma during the time because I didn't have anywhere else left to go because um because of my past relationship and stuff like that, and basically me and my past relationship, my ex didn't really basically get along too very well and stuff like that. I really don't want to talk about it really too much about it. I don't really want to basically expose myself really too much basically about that because like when it comes to real life and stuff like that is something I don't want to talk about and stuff like that. So I figured I just want to let you guys give you guys a little deep in deep into that. But like I said, I'm not trying to hide anything or anything like that. But I it's just something I don't feel comfortable. Basically, I don't want to. I feel like I don't feel comfortable basically talking about it. If it's something I want to talk about, something I don't want to talk about. So I figure I want to let you guys know just a little bit, just a bit about that. I know this has nothing to do with a review, but I just want to give a little reference because that was the last video I left off with episode 5. So, anyways, let's talk about what episode 6 basically with Chain of Soldier. Basically, with Chain of Soldier, what's her name is Sashui. What I think I definitely do think that's her name, Sashui. Basically, the blonde headed girl. She seems like she's a really kind of bouncy, kind of bubbly, basic kind of girl. She really actually is and stuff like that. She kind of reminds me basically of the battle basically between Vegeta versus Gohan. If you guys don't know, in the original of the series of Dragon Ball Z. Now, I'm not talking about Dragon Ball Z GT or Super or Dynamo or anything like that. I'm not talking about any of those, but I'm talking about the original battle between Vegeta versus Gohan. Because if you guys don't know, Gohan basically has turned into a big old giant ape, or I will say a gorilla, basic kind of way. And Vegeta was having a very hard time trying to eliminate Gohan, and the only way to get rid of Gohan was basically the only way to basically, I guess not to kill him, but put him out of his misery is basically just to cut the tail off because that's usually the best way for somebody to basically to take down the big old behemoths stuff like that. That's basically what they're supposed to do. That's basically what they're supposed to do. That's what that battle kind of reminds me because when you see Century, I guess I pronounced her name wrong or something like that. I guess I am. But if you look at that battle from right there, you could just tell that she's battling another what's her name is. Anyways, I can't remember her name. Anyways, I'm not very good with names. I'm not. Sometimes I have a little hard time coming up with names. I do apologize for that. But anyways, she was battling a girl that was twice her size and stuff like that, and she was just basically. And it seems to me that she seems like she had the advantage that she has because the size, the weight of what she really actually is. She has the ability to turn large, means that she has the ability to basically turn large. That's what basically what she's supposed to do, and that's basically what she's instructed herself supposed to do. That's her ability, basically what she has. She kind of reminds me of basically of the Gridman transformation, like when Gridman transformation goes up like that, it goes, and that's what it kind of reminds me also too. I'm not so sure if Ultraman really definitely does that or not. I never seen Ultraman. Forgive me if I've been living on a rock. You probably will say like, James, you never seen Ultraman? To be honest, I never seen Ultraman. I never have. I've seen seen some similar videos. Ultraman basically back in the past. I never have seen the series. I never have. I've heard it's really popular. I've heard I think it's probably more popular than Power Rangers and Kamen Rider. I guess I'm not really 100% sure, but I do know it's a very popular. So I definitely do know, especially stuff like that. And Forgive me. That's just basically what I definitely do know. But anyways, when I saw her turn very large, I remember her because I was going like, she's the big giant woman that turns very large because there's other different giant women's spaces out there, basically anime like the Seven Deadly Sins. I never seen that one. I personally would really want to watch that. I've heard that was. I heard those are really good. I have to watch those. I have to watch those. Tell me how the anime is. Is it good or bad? I'm really kind of curious about it now. I'm just really kind of curious about what you guys have to say. But anyways, it's just that's what the similarities is basically what it kind of basically feels to me. But if you look at basically the Sasori, basically versus the other girl, she kind of reminds me of basically like Goku going Super Saiyan 1, basically the first transformation of Super Saiyan. It's kind of like basically it kind of like feels to me because of the base of the strength and the power that she has. But she also kind of reminds me also too versus Gohan Super Saiyan 4 versus Baby, which is means Baby Vegeta. Baby Vegeta is basically who basically took control of Vegeta and basically took control of him, and then he turns like a big old giant big gorillas, stuff like that, if you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So yeah. But anyways, I can go on. I can pretty much go on pretty much most of the time. Different similarities and stuff like that. Because when I'm watching those similarities, because I seen those different similarities back in the past. If you look at, for example, like I said before, basically with Gohan versus Vegeta back in Dragon Ball Z, the original. I'm talking about the original, not Dragon Ball GT or Super or Dynamon or so. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the original. I'm talking about the very first original. I would say, well, not the very first original, not Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball Z. If you look at that fight, you basically would understand stuff like that because it was supposed to be the battle between Goku versus Vegeta, and then they become friends. Basically later on in the series, and then they both despise each other, or Vegeta kind of despised Goku because he's more powerful than basically Goku is and stuff like that. So basically, so Vegeta is personally one of my favorites. If I had to pick one of my all time favorites from Dragon Ball, from Dragon Ball Z, I have to pick there's I have to pick three: Vegeta, Piccolo, and Gohan. Gohan is one of my actually, excuse me, Vegeta. I have to say, you know, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and also Trunks. Trunks is one of my all-time favorites. He's one of my all-time favorites. I love Trunks. I'm not gonna lie, he's really one of my all-time favorites. I love the sword that he has and stuff like that, going out the androids and stuff like that. But anyways, based on this episode, basically the main protagonist Yuki, based for himself, he basically got a transformation. He got two transformations, basically two different forms and stuff like that. And now, to be honest with you, I know YouTube is probably going to censor my live reaction video because I use the words as slave and stuff like that. Now, I don't want people to really think that I'm using this term basically as an insult to other people, which I personally am not. But that's just the term and how they use it, basically in a way, just based for based on the different of the aspects, based when it comes of the anime, and that's what they basically use it for. Not like basically like use it like not just educational purposes and stuff like that. Sometimes people can use it based on educational different purposes, but sometimes people can use it based for the reference based off of shows and stuff like that. Or based on anime. I have a feeling that YouTube will censor my video just for saying that. But if I put a title basically saying that, then yes, that probably will censor my video. That probably will take it off. You can say we can't let you use that word because that's a very offensive word because basically what that word basically means, that word basically means is for the difference of slavery back in the past, back in the 1800s or 1700s or so on and stuff like that, because black people were slaves basically back then and stuff like that. and basically stuff like that. But I'm using that as just for a reference from back in the past. I'm not using this as just to be racist or anything like that. But that's just what I feel. Those are just the references and stuff like that, and stuff like that. I'm not using it just as for a purpose or slander or insult or anything like that. I'm not just basically just doing that. I'm using it as a reference, as basically for what I definitely see it. And I understand a lot of people don't like those words and stuff like that, and I definitely do respect that. But when you look at basically the anime business, that I'm using it basically as a reference because what's basically being said into an anime, not as an insult, not into to as for racist different situations or anything like that. I'm not basically just using that. I'm not normally using that. I'm using it just basically as for reference. Basically, when it comes to basic anime, or when it comes to a TV show or movies or basic stuff like that, or basic educational purposes. But if you put down into the word basically in the title, then yes, that's a very good possibility. Then YouTube would take it down. It probably would take it out and say we can't have you do that. But yeah, anyways, that's it for this review. Tell me what you guys think. You guys like this episode? You guys don't like it? I love hearing what you guys have to say. But yeah, anyways, this is Unknown Sense. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Hope you guys well today. Please leave me a like or give me a dislike on my video. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Doesn't matter to me. And please leave me comments below. Anyways, I love you guys. Take care. Hope you guys have a well today. And I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.